Good morning, agus fáilteach anseo OTB AM, Máire Treasa and Eoin tuchtú lá go bhí warta. I've Eoin here with me, and of course he's terrified. I'm going to start speaking to him in Irish as well.
What language is that? No, only messing. It's we tried to have a conversation in Irish a couple of weeks ago, Máire Treasa, and it didn't go well. So for after that warning sign, I'm going to steer clear of that. But modern what to you too?
Agur mil mahad.
No, top Walter wrote.
You've made my day.
Fluent, absolutely fluent. How are things?
Not too bad. And we were just discussing before we came on air there that you were talking about the Arsenal match, and I was saying, well, I don't know about that because I was at Jersey Boys last night.
I kind of wish I went to Jersey Boys, or I kind of wish I did anything. You know, I don't know, maybe like anything really, other than the spectacle that I guess anybody would have watched in Rennes last night. Seeing Arsenal fall once again. Like, I'm not sure it was actually a painful experience. People who aren't Arsenal fans probably find the whole thing quite comical, but I'm not sure it's actually got to the point where comedy is just absent now, where it's actually, this is kind of sad. They keep finding new ways of disappointing everybody. Like the highlight for me last night, or perhaps the low light, was the yellow card, the first yellow card that Socrates picked up for Arsenal. And he did something which I've never seen a footballer do, and he slide tackled the footballer with his torso. He just went down and,
how do you even do that?
I don't know how you do it. Like, people were saying it was a harsh yellow card and all that sort of stuff. But if you get your body into a position where you're taking down somebody with your chest on the ground, then I think you're in a pretty poor position right there, and I think a yellow card is deserved. But yeah, 3-1 down, and fairly disappointing beginning to the weekend, I guess, if you're an Arsenal fan, or if that persuades you.
So you probably should have gone to Jersey Boys. It was way better. I was just telling Eoin here, like Frankie Valli, there are tunes that soundtrack of my life. I didn't even know it. It was just brilliant.
What do you mean by that? As in, like, every tune you heard was like, this is right, this is for me, was written,
every
and it could
tune
be for me.
you've heard them growing up when you've been at weddings. Okay. You've heard them at, when you go to Coppers. I mean, because Eoin's always in Coppers.
I've never heard of the place.
Anytime I've been in Coppers, I've bumped into Eoin.
Really?
Yeah. Jeez, how many times have we been there and I get a tap on the shoulder and it's you?
I've been there in a long, long time, and also I've no recollection of ever doing that, which is slightly worrying. What tunes are we talking here?
Big Boys Don't Cry.
Okay, right, okay.
Big Girls Don't Cry. I'm so tired at this point. Loads of other ones. I'm not even going to attempt them because that falsetto voice that I can't do, and it goes through his life, how the band were created, Frankie Valli, and they were the Four Seasons first, and then it became Frankie Valli, and then the issues they had with the taxman and paying off bills, and it's all done in a really compact, nice musical way. What
is the narrative thrust of Jersey Boys? What's it all about?
It's all about basically a gang of lads from Jersey, funnily enough. And they're trying to make money to basically have a better life. In and out of jail, there's a little bit of a correctional unit that they're all in and out of, and they decide, no, we're going to become famous, we're going to play proper music. They get an agent. Two of them take it much more seriously than the other two, or at least visibly more seriously. One of them is in it for the good time. Now, according to this, I'm sure really, really accurately represented musical. And they travel around the United States, start getting there. They're on National Bandstand.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they're even on National Bandstand. And it's just a great show, and it just travels through telling Frankie Valli's life, how he got married, the kids, the divorces, and one of his daughters actually died as well, so that's portrayed in it. And it's all done really, really well. And you leave at the end and everybody's singing, "Oh, what a night." Yeah,
wow. So it's on the Board Gosh at the moment.
It is. Anyone think I'm paid to promote this? I'm not. Yeah, I went. My sister gave me a ticket to go with her. It was brilliant.
It sounds like a great one. Certainly a better option than watching Rennes against Arsenal last night, I dare say.
Well, you know, it's a better option as well. We are doing a special podcast at the moment for Cheltenham the Gaeilge, and we have Pat Lam talking about it. We actually spoke to him yesterday afternoon. We're going to have that for you guys once that podcast is put together. Pat Lam, while not as fluent as Eoin, is nearly there, and he speaks to us about the culture in Connacht Rugby, what he implemented, a contest Gaeilge. And you probably do know this, Eoin, lots of people do know that basically when Pat Lam came to Connacht, he decided, let's try and figure out what makes Connacht different to the other provinces, and he realised the Irish language, the culture, that's what makes them different. So he speaks to us a bit about that, and it's I think it's a really good interview, and we're going to have that on our Cheltenham the Gaeilge podcast. Are you going to be on our Cheltenham the Gaeilge podcast?
I don't think so. I think my audition there, as I say, was a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest with you, I kind of crumbled in the face of having to speak any Irish. It's such a shame that it would actually diminish to the point where I'm actually kind of listening to you speak Irish like I would listen to somebody speak French.
And picking up words here and there.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, that word rings a bell. It is very, very sad. As I said, if I sat my Leaving Cert Irish oral now, I would do well to get a D in it, to be quite honest with you. But to be honest, that's still a pass. So I think my Irish is passable.
Exactly.
But I've got higher standards than that.
Well, look, if you hang around with me, Tommy and Darren Cleary, we'll make sure we'll pass you in your Gaeilge.
I've heard the two lads are incredible.
Now, Also, today is March 8th, it's International Women's Day, and we're all aware by now of the Irish 20 by 20 campaign. And here's just a little video to give you a reminder. Or maybe we don't. No, it's okay. That's okay, Eoin. We'll continue. I won't keep testing you on your Irish language. Okay. That's not fair on a Friday morning. So you have a choice. We can talk about... Oh, and there's my headphones gone out as well. It's totally Friday morning. So Women's Day, International Women's Day, 20 by 20. We've a brilliant show planned for you as well. We've got some... we've Katie McCabe coming in. We've Louise Quinn coming in. We're previewing the rugby as well with Ronan O'Gara. We've all that coming up. I'm not going to make you talk about Arsenal either, because that's also not fair. So 20 by 20 so far, how do you think it's been going?
Yeah, pretty good. Like, to be fair, when we got Louise Quinn and Katie McCabe in later on, their Arsenal team are faring a little bit better than the men's version at the moment, so no real issue talking about them, to be quite honest. Yeah, like 20 by 20, it's a great concept. We've got plenty of coverage coming up around that today and indeed this evening. I'm not sure how much we can actually reveal about this evening's show, because there's a special edition of it coming your way for the crappy quiz and all that sort of thing. But like it's a program that was implemented a couple of months ago. There's something that Off the Ball has been well involved in, and the media as a whole has been involved in. You can see it across all the newspapers today and things like that. And I guess it's something that we've been focusing on quite a bit on the show over the last couple of years as well. And you're starting to see green shoots, I think, in that.
Yeah, definitely. We have the papers here as well, and I have the Irish Independent with mirrors of a quick preview here. And obviously, a lot of it is going to be rugby based. We Stander and Ringrose return for French mission. We have that there. And also we have Gunners blow it. Owen's already given us the account of how terrible that was last night. So I don't think we need to go through that. Like
it really was. Hatem Ben Arfa plays for Rennes, which was kind of one of those moments where you're watching Europa League and you're like, oh, that guy showed up there. He's still in the process of suing Paris Saint-Germain for the way he left the club, who, of course, he left the club during Unai Emery's time there. So he had a little bit of an incentive when he was suing the club that he was managed by when the opposition manager was up against him last night. So that gave him a bit of an extra edge. The fact is, this actually just kind of creates a tie. Like, Bate Borisov did the same thing to Arsenal in the first leg in the previous round. Granted, a worse team, and it was a smaller margin, but it made the second leg far more of a palatable prospect, which you don't often get in the Europa League. So 3-1, I think, actually sets it up nicely. And, like, would you be surprised if Rennes come to the Emirates and Arsenal smash them and then, you know, go out with a whimper in the next round? I probably wouldn't. That is the most silver lining take I've ever taken on what sounded like one of the most terrible games to watch of a Thursday night. Oh no, the game to watch, I'm talking purely from an Arsenal perspective, it was a terrible one to watch. It was actually a pretty good game. It was fairly exciting, and that stadium in Rennes actually looked like it was hopping. What I never understand though is they made, what do they call that? The crowd created artistry in the stands, where everybody's given a sheet of paper, yeah. And they hold it up and they make that. It was kind of like a wall of green. But the thing is, when you give fans a sheet of paper or kind of a piece of card, you can crumple it up and throw it. And every time Arsenal got a corner, it was just pelting green and white balls at this guy or whoever was taking the penalty. So I thought that was a bit unfair and a bit maybe cynical from the Rennes chairman or whoever's idea that was. I've often wondered, you know, exactly those kind of crowd art, when you give people these bits of paper and you tell them hold them up, like, that's very difficult to coordinate. You're relying on 40,000 people to do what they're told. Yeah, especially for an evening game when they've been on the pints all evening, and it's like, yeah, hold up that sheet of paper there for a few minutes while we get a nice picture. I would never trust a bunch of football fans, but I think it actually did look quite good from a Rennes perspective last night. Kind of one of those, I don't want to say a sleeping giant. I think this is probably as they're probably getting close to their summit in terms of European football at the moment, but yeah, no. Yeah. Like, I've never actually been to a game where they've put something under your seat and tell you to do it, so I've often wondered, like, I assume you're told this is the time everyone lift them up, so there has to be somebody on. What about an Irish rugby game? No, never. I've never been to, if I have, I've missed it. Right, okay. I've never ever been told to hold something up at a game. But it's not exactly holding something up, but you obviously get those flags in the Aviva Stadium sometimes for the Irish rugby team. Oh, the dangerous flags. They are quite, like, it depends. Anything is dangerous. It depends how you use it. I guess you could use these flags as a weapon, but wasn't that what Leinster fans were told when they went somewhere there a few weeks ago? I can't remember where they went. They were told they weren't allowed to use their flags, right? Because they were deemed to be. Because obviously it was tried to make sure that the stadium wasn't as blue as it could be. Ah, well, psychology. That's I'm sure that was a 7-point difference there, right there. Speaking of Leinster and Ireland, we have the Times Ireland edition, and we have O'Brien to be dropped for the French clash, and also a picture there of a jubilant-looking Solskjaer. Why wouldn't he? So yeah, the Sean O'Brien story keeps rolling on, and McCarthy as well will meet
Bamford. So he closes on recruiting Patrick Bamford, apparently.
Yeah, he got ghosted there for ages, didn't he?
Yeah, very
Bamford
much
just
so.
wasn't replying to his texts. Some people are just like that, you know.
They are.
Whenever anybody says to, you, oh, sorry, I'm a disaster for getting back to text, you know, it's just one of those personality faults I have, never believe them. They just don't want to reply to you. And I'm sure Mick sees through that. I'm sure he has the knowledge of how texting works.
How often does this happen to you, Owen? I feel like this is a wound we've just opened up.
I don't want to bring broken hearts live to the air this morning, Máire Treasa, but all I'm saying is just a word of advice to Mick McCarthy is don't believe Patrick Bamford when he says, oh, sorry, I don't check my phone that often.
I'm the opposite. I open my phone and be bombarded.
Like, it's a very good trait to have, the Patrick Bamford trait. You can get away without talking to anybody, really, and just say, oh, you know, that's just me. I'm just a little bit aloof.
But is there nothing more annoying, though, you know, when you send somebody a WhatsApp and it's two little ticks and then you see them go blue and you've asked a question and they don't reply and you know they've seen it?
Well, even worse than that is they go typing and then they stop and then they don't respond at all.
Yeah.
That's just really... I'm not sure, maybe Mick McCarthy will get asked about that eventually. Did Patrick Bamford's ticks go blue? And did he go to typing at one stage? That's what I want to know.
I want to know. We have to ask Stephen Doyle to make sure he asks that, or Nathan next time they're out.
For sure.
Reading up with it. We have here the Irish Examiner, and speaking of Mick McCarthy, a brilliant picture here of Mick McCarthy. I love the photos the Examiner use. I always use great photos. They really illustrate what they're talking about. And on the back pages, obviously, we're looking toward the... we've a picture here of Smoking Gun and Rachel Blackmore, who is... just lighting up horse racing at the moment. She's just a wonderful ambassador for sport in general, not just women's sport. And it's just Mick McCarthy's mission. McCarthy's certain he can unlock the goals in Irish squad. And I also have the Herald here, which is 4 years for Ole, which is of course the big talking point this week after their miraculous resurrection out in PSG. And I don't have the Irish Times with us here. I think we may have a digital edition. It may pop up.
No, we don't have that.
No, we don't. That's okay. Oh, and you move on.
We'll get that up in a moment. I'm going to move on to the Irish Daily Mail this morning. It's pressure on. Euro campaign is McCarthy's driving force. That's Philip Quinn's headline. And a great picture there of Mesut Ozil. Arsenal floored by lowly Rennes as they beat them 3-1. Chelsea getting the 3-0 win over Dynamo Kiev last night. And no fear for Les Bleus, says Fiku. That's Hugh Fardy saying that France insists they have no fear facing the Grand Slam champions in Dublin, despite Ireland coach Joe Schmidt bringing back a host of big names for Sunday's Six Nations showdown. Now, the back page of the Mirror goes with this story. Half the cash, twice the boss. Solskjaer is set to be offered a United job on 50% of what Mourinho was paid. And I might actually just skip right on to the Irish Daily Star, because they go with this headline: not half bad. Bargain basement Solskjaer to bag United job. Now, bargain basement, I have a problem with that phrase, because we are using Jose Mourinho to judge how much Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is worth. Now, would you call somebody on a €7.5 million salary bargain basement? I probably wouldn't. Now, the fact that Jose Mourinho was on €17.5 million, it probably is.
So was he overpaid, or
totally
will Ole
overpaid.
Gunnar Solskjaer, will he potentially be underpaid?
Totally overpaid, but like, I don't know, maybe it could be construed to say this is another reason why Jose Mourinho is the worst man in the world. It's the reason why Jose Mourinho has the best agent in the world, in George Mendes, and he's done extremely well. Any manager, no matter what your reputation is, if you're getting close to €20 million a year as a manager, you're doing bloody good. And I think Solskjaer would bite your hand off for £8 million. Doesn't really bother him though. He wants to get not the profile out of this. This is the job of his life. This is the biggest opportunity of his career, and he's taken the opportunity so far with two hands. The backing from the dressing room has been incredible. The fact that Lukaku has come out, Lingard has come out and saying, basically, give him the job now. You rarely see that. You rarely see that even when things are going well under an interim manager, do you hear the players actually saying, give this guy the job. You often hear, oh, things are good, we'll wait and see what happens. But in the Old Trafford dressing room right now, it seems that the players are like, no, we want this guy right here, this guy's good. And it just is testament to how brilliant a job he's done on the pitch, and indeed creating a brilliant mood in the dressing room. The Sun leads with goal rush. Mick strikes right note. So Mick McCarthy's named his first Ireland squad. It's the initial squad, so I don't want to say everybody gets in, because it's like a great moment for someone like Paul Drugamond to be even involved in this conversation. It is the next one though. It is the matchday squad. I think he's going to bring a lighter than usual squad to Gibraltar as well, so it's going to be a ruthless enough cull at the next round. The Racing Post then goes with Canaries may take flight in second half. It's the back page anyway. It's Norwich against Swansea tonight at 7:45. The front page, as you can imagine, is looking ahead to Cheltenham, and it goes with a Colin Tizard angle. Tizard welcomes rain for his trio in Gold Cup. So the going at the moment, yesterday in Cheltenham anyway, was good to soft in places. And this, of course, will suit Colin Tizard quite well. Native River, as you can remember, last year won the Gold Cup in atrocious conditions. He's gone with a pretty strong field for the Gold Cup. It looks like Native River, as I mentioned already. Elegant Escape is going to be in there. And Thistlecrack is also going to be involved in the Gold Cup. Just from memory, Thistlecrack, I think, was like anti-post favourite before the Gold Cup 2 years ago and then got injured and went down. So it's a big moment for him. It's a big moment for the Tizard clan once again. He obviously favours soft ground, and it looks like it's going to be going that way at Cheltenham next week. It's a racing story as well, leading the way in The Guardian. Get back up, get stronger, get out there. Bryony Frost on her return from injury and bid for Cheltenham glory. She's spoken to a journalist in The Guardian, and I kind of want to just touch on this for just a moment. It's Chris Cook who she's spoken to, and the headline inside the newspaper is, "I've never thought this isn't worth it, this pain." We were talking about CJ Stander, Máire Treasa, on the show yesterday morning about how he's got this insane relationship with pain, and how his pain threshold is unlike anything we've ever seen, and it's kind of typical for rugby players in a certain position. But then you talk about jockeys, and jockeys are just ridiculous. And she tells a story about being a child in Devon. Herself and her brother, they used to pull each other off their ponies while moving at speed so that they could practice falling. That is lunacy. That is absolute lunacy. Yeah. She says, now this is when they cite a previous interview. She spoke to The Guardian in 2017, and she was hospitalised for 2 months at the age of 15 when injuries from a fall led to septicemia that nearly killed her. Nothing too bad, she said. It gave me a chance to lose a bit of my puppy fat. You know, that's what goes through most people's minds when they get septicemia.
No,
bit of
not
weight loss.
Imminent death.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're even conscious to be worrying about death, they're certainly not worrying about puppy fat.
No, absolutely not. Like, it's a good interview. It's obviously Bryony Frost has become a household name in racing at the moment. I didn't realise that no woman's won a Grade 1 race at the festival so far. You'd imagine if it's going to drop some year, it's going to drop soon, and potentially even next week. She talks about Frodon. The horse, I think I was expecting her to ride in the Gold Cup, but it seems that Frodon is going to be switched to Thursday's Ryanair Chase. But that, of course, is a Grade 1 as well. So perhaps Bryony Frost on Frodon could be the first time a woman wins a Grade 1 race at Cheltenham.
Hope she doesn't fall off or push herself off, or her brother comes up alongside and gives her a push off.
Let's hope it's a septicemia-free week for everybody at Cheltenham next week. And finally for me, the Telegraph goes with Arsenal. There is Socrates. Gunnar is staring down the barrel as Rennes beat them 3-1, and also Solskjaer certain to be United manager. That's Lukaku and Shaw leading the calls for Norwegian to be given Old Trafford job after Paris miracle.
Great, okay, well that's the papers. We've got a brilliant show coming up for you today, as you can see on our display here. Arsenal and Ireland stars Katie McCabe and Louise Quinn, they're coming into the studio very shortly, so stay with us. We've got a really special dadcast coming up as well, I suppose because it is International Women's Day, they're keeping an eye on how things go for their daughters in life. We're previewing the rugby, we've got Ronan O'Gara and we've got Alan Quinlan as well. We're also got French legend Sergei Betsen, should I say, sorry, my words are going out of me, he's here after 9 o'clock. And we'll also be joined in studio by Mary O'Connor and Sarah Colgan. They're two of the driving forces behind Ireland 20 by 20. And this is International Women's Day on Off the Ball. We're asking you to show your stripes and make a pledge toward one action towards supporting women and girls in sport.